What is up, everybody? Sveinson here, back with another MLB 9 innings guide. Today, we're going to be discussing the Mentor system. Mentor is a system that allows you to use your spare cards and stars for various stat boosts and bonuses to your team, depending on the situation. For example, level 10 of Mentor gives every prime in your deck a +1, while level 19 can take a chosen gold skill and decrease the level of an opposing hitter with that skill by 3. When fully utilized, the Mentor system can help lower overall teams compete with others far above their level, and once your team starts to reach those high levels, it's almost necessary for this to be complete to stay competitive. Most levels of Mentor have different options for you to choose, with different card requirements. This means that the system can be a little overwhelming for new players, and that's why I'm here to walk you through your options, what I chose, and why. Each different level of Mentor is going to have requirements for what cards you can use to get the training complete. For example, Mentor level 1, you may need a silver player with 70 plus power, while at Mentor level 10, you'll need some silver or higher grade primes. In order to efficiently save cards, you can track what card you have to fill in for what Mentor level and slot with a simple spreadsheet. That way, when you're pulling cards or completing a level, you don't have to click back and forth between your, inventory screen while you pull them and your team management lineup, to see what you have sitting in your backups, and then, click over to team management Mentor to see what you need. If you just have a spreadsheet, you can keep track of everything you need in one place. And the best part about this is you don't even have to make your own. In the description, I've linked a Google Sheet that you can access with a template for filling in your Mentor system effect and what cards you plan to use to complete it. I've even included an example filled with the Mentor selections that I picked and what cards I used. One thing I forgot to mention is the total cost of star cost of doing the system is about 10,500 stars. That's okay. You aren't going to spend them all at once. That's kind of 10,500 stars over the course of a couple months, which really doesn't feel that bad, right? The max level, you're spending like 1,000 stars. Lower levels at 50, 100. So I know 10,000 stars seems like a lot, but really by the time you actually get the player cards for these levels, you'll have stars saved up. Because it's hard to get some of the cards for these levels. Like, let me see, what level was it for me? Yeah, so Solution Instinct, I had to get an I-90 plus player. It took me forever to get this Joey Votto, and I eventually, once I got him, I just plugged him straight in, even though I could have used the diamond for special training. One other thing is, for meeting these thresholds, you can have players trained. You can see the Javi Baez here is level 3, so he could get up to the 90 plus power, right? He got +3 power from that training, so they can be trained. It does not take into account gear, and it takes them into account at this neutral position, not an up or down condition. You see how he just has the green with the dash above his position. So if your player is in up condition, in order to meet that threshold, it won't let you use them. It also won't let you use them if they're locked in your team backups, right? You can turn on and off this little lock. Won't let you use them if they're locked up, and it won't let you use them if they're in any lineups. So what I would do is, as you draw a player you need and you mark it on that spreadsheet, lock him, and then once you have players to fill out that full Mentor level and the stars to do it, unlock them and plug them into that Mentor slot. So with all of that being said, let's dive in to Mentor. Mentor level 1, there are 3 options. The first one increases the chances of batters number 1 and 2 getting a hit when there are no runners on base. Mid-focus, the second option for level 1, increases the chances of batters number 3, 4, and 5 getting an extra base hit when there are runners on base. And then finally, Low focus increases the chances of batters 6, 7, and 8 getting a hit when there are runners on base. Now for this one, I would definitely either go with high focus or mid focus. I picked mid focus because it's specifically about getting extra base hits. Extra base hits wins you games in MLB 9 innings. So you want to get as many of those as possible. Mid focus gives you extra base hits. You maybe you don't have your best batters in slot 3, 4, and 5, but your 3 and 4 batters should be pretty good. And so your number 5 batter should be all right. If you really do have a much stronger top of your lineup, though, I could see you going with high focus. Personally, though, extra base hits are important. I'm going with mid focus every time. Level 2, you have the option between shake, which increases the stamina decrease amount of the pitchers if batters number 1 or 2 are on base. Then you have showmanship, which decreases the pitcher's stamina when batters number 3, 4, or 5 get an extra base hit. Then finally, you have focus, which decreases the pitcher's stamina when a foul ball occurs. So the nice thing about shake and showmanship at level 2 is they can kind of pair well with the mentor effect above it. Right, so if you went mid-focus at level 1, which increases the chance of getting an extra base hit with 3, 4, and 5, then showmanship, right, that decreases the pitcher's stamina when batters 3, 4, or 5 get an extra base hit, right? Those two pair super well together. Same with high focus and shake. Personally, I went with shake, even though I went with mid-focus at level 1, because I personally think that my number 1 and 2 batters are getting on base. They're my highest on-base guys. And I personally think that they're getting on base more than my 3, 4, and 5 guys are getting extra base hits, even with mid-focus live. So the stamina decrease isn't too huge a deal, especially as you start pushing up in ranked and you start running into SIGs. Like, they're going to have more than enough stamina anyway. But I just went with shake because when my batters number 1 and 2 are on base, that happens, I think, more than getting the extra base hit. But really, if you want to, if you think it's cool, you can stack mid-focus and showmanship, or you can stack high focus and shake. I would not go showmanship if you went high focus at level 1. So I'll just mention that. Next up, at level 3, you have Crisis, which increases the chance of getting a hit until the first hit occurs if there is a pinch hitter of the same grade for the same position on standby. Let's say you have a outfielder up to bat. He hasn't gotten a hit yet. It's a diamond outfielder, and you have a diamond outfielder sitting on your bench, right, ready to pinch hit. This will increase the chance of getting a hit with the guy who's currently up to bat. Ambition increases the chances of a pinch hitter getting an extra base hit on his first attempt. So I don't think that pinch hitters are used all that much. I didn't have time to pull up my stats, but I would be surprised if my pinch hitters got more than 50 at-bats last ranked session. So I'd rather have the guys who I'm starting anyway have a higher chance of getting a hit rather than giving my pinch hitters extra chances when they come in. So here I'm going with Crisis instead of Ambition. Moving up to level 4, you have Crisis Management, which the starting pitcher substitution timing will become faster in autoplay or quick inning mode. So when you're not manually playing, if you're doing ranked or club and you're not manually, this will make the computer pull your starting pitcher out quicker. The opposite, Baseball of Trust, the starting pitcher's substitution timing will become slower in autoplay mode or quick play or quick inning mode. This will leave your starting pitcher in longer. And then finally, Divisional Baseball, the starting pitcher's exchange timing will be managed flexibly. It doesn't really describe what that means. I used Divisional Baseball for a while. If you are not entirely sure what to go here, go with Divisional Baseball. The reason I picked Baseball of Trust is because my starting pitchers are miles better than my relief pitchers.
I want my starting pitchers in the game as much as possible. But maybe you have a super bullpen and your starters aren't as strong, in which case I would encourage you to go work on your starting pitching because it's the most important part of this game. But if that's not an option, you can go with divisional baseball. You can go with crisis management. But yeah, my starting pitchers better than my relief pitchers. Baseball of trust was the only option. Also, if you pick one of these levels and you change your mind later, you can reset it. And here, I'll waste some stars to show how it works. You can reset it, and it takes away everything above what you had. But then you can go back in, re-add to this mentor level. Let's see, I think I had Tehran, and Glasnow, and Bassett, then Nola. And then you can post it, and it sets all the ones back above it for you. So you can change these at whim. You just have to repost the amount of stars, but not for all the levels above it. So yeah, so maybe you do divisional baseball for now until you're sure whether your bullpen or your starters are stronger. If your bullpen is stronger, go with crisis management. If your starters are stronger, go with baseball's trust. Level 5, you only have one option. All stats of live players registered on the lineup get +3. You just need a silver player that's 55 plus overall. Pretty easy to get. It's nice during the live season when your live players just get stronger. Like this year, it really helped out my live Arenado, right? But now since he's no longer live, this is no longer active on him. Level 6, you have quality start and create chance. So quality start increases the chances of not allowing any hits if a starting pitcher takes the mound in the 6th inning, while create chance increases the chances of getting a hit with batters number 1 and 2 if you're at a tie or losing after the 6th inning. Honestly, you can't really go wrong here. If you're at a tie or losing and you get a hit with your best batters at number 1 and 2, especially if they come up to bat, you're at a tie, the first one gets a hit, and then the next guy drives them in, or one of them gets a home run, that's really good. I went with quality start, though, because all of my pitchers should be going 6 innings or more. And I think that my starting pitcher going in the 6th, the 7th, and the 8th, that's affecting up to 9 at-bats, while, in the same time frame, I might only get 2 or 4 out of my number batters, 1 and 2, getting a chance to take advantage of this. So, plus, like I said earlier, starting pitching super important in this game, so I tried to use the mentor system to make my starting pitchers as good as possible. Moving on up to level 7, your choices are responsibility, which increases the chances of not allowing any hits if a relief pitcher takes the mound when batters are in scoring position once per match, or first pitch attack, which increases the chance of getting a hit on the first pitch after the pitcher is changed. Again, it's kind of tomato with these. I like to make my pitchers better. So this one basically means that if I put in a relief pitcher, responsibility, if I put in a relief pitcher and their batters in scoring position, and they have a higher chance of not allowing any hits. So that's really good if my starting pitcher gets pulled and I have to put in, my setup man. It gives them a higher chance of not blowing the game, which is really important. On the flip side, first pitch attack, it only affects the first pitch after the opposing team's pitcher is changed. And it doesn't even increase your chances of getting an extra base hit or a home run. It just gives you a higher chance of a single hit on the first pitch after the pitcher's changed. I just prefer responsibility here. I feel like it casts a broader net. It keeps your relief pitchers from blowing games where you're in a dangerous position. So I'm going with responsibility at level 7. Moving on up to level 8, we have Iron Arm, which the Loken Vel of the starting pitcher during the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning gets +3. So that's really nice. or Predict Pitch, which increases the chances of getting an extra base hit starting from the third at bat against the same pitcher. So Predict Pitch basically says that if their starter goes deep in the game, you have a higher chance of getting a hit off of him. This is really nice because late into games, if you start getting hits off their starting pitcher, it's going to get pulled and replaced with a relief pitcher. And let me tell you, a lot of people have better starting pitchers than relief pitchers. So I wouldn't blame you for going for Predict Pitch. That being said, I went for Iron Arm. The location and velocity of the pitcher during the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning gets +3. I am a big fan of that, especially later in games. Your pitcher's stamina is getting lower. This just makes it more likely for them to actually go all the way through and complete the game. You know, when I'm rocking my Black Diamond Adam Wainwright or Black Diamond Jack Flaherty, I want them going all the way through the game, right? I want them in the 7th, 8th, and 9th, or at least the 7th and 8th, and getting location and velocity increased that late in the game is huge for them. So I go with Iron Arm here, but I wouldn't blame you for taking Predict Pitch. Moving up to level 9, your options are Run and Hit, the first of which increases the chances of the batter at bat getting a hit with a successful stolen base, or Long Hit, which increases the chances of getting an extra base hit if there are no runners with 2 outs. So let's start with Run and Hit. It increases the chances of you getting a hit with a successful stolen base. I train all of my players to have very low speed. They don't steal a lot of bases. This one is practically useless on me. You know, I think my fastest base runners steal like maybe 5 bases in a ranked week and like none during club. So Run and Hit is not useful in any way for me. On the flip side, Long Hit increases the chances of getting an extra base hit if there are no runners on with 2 outs. You know, there is a chance of that happening every inning for 9 innings, right? That's a lot more frequent than one of my players stealing a base. And it's not only if you haven't gotten a hit that inning. Maybe you have one person hit a home run with no runners on and 2 outs, then it increases the chance of the next guy getting an extra base hit with no runners on and 2 outs. The Long Hit comes up a lot more often for me than Run and Hit. The only situation I could see Run and Hit coming into play is there are some teams who play a lot of PvP, and in PvP you can do stolen bases and play for high speed, but that's really niche and it doesn't help you with the club battle aspect of the game as much. It doesn't help you as much with the ranked battle aspect of the game. So unless you're like a PvP only player, I would do Long Hit. All right, next up we have level 10. It's called Prime Team. All stats of prime players registered in the lineup get +1. So this is really nice for, you know, my Jim Edmond gets a +1 to all his stats. You know, maybe you have some team primes or maybe you have a non-team prime on your lineup. They'll get +1 stats. This one is usually a lot of people's holdup for increasing Mentor. It's really hard to come by 5 primes. And early on, people like to maybe use their primes for combos to try to get a team prime. I wouldn't use a team prime in this Mentor level unless it's a duplicate or it's one you know you're not going to use. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Nothing really to discuss here. Just this is a good example of when it's nice to have that spreadsheet so you can keep track of what prime players you have, you know how many you have, and you aren't tempted to combo them away. All right, so up next is level 11. Level 11 gives you Trusting Fellow, which increases the defending speed of infielders if there is a runner in scoring position. And it gives you Surprise Attack, which once per game increases the chance of getting an infield hit on bunt attempts. So I don't want my players bunting very much. This only occurs once per game. Surprise Attack does not make sense to me. At least Trusting Fellow, you know, neither of these seem amazingly good. I just wanted to get through these. At least Trusting Fellow might protect from a run scoring, if decreases the time to throw to first, so maybe you get that out if there are 2 outs, or maybe you can throw it home faster. It doesn't come up that much that it actually makes a difference, but it's better than once per game getting a chance for it. Doesn't even give you a hit on a bunt once a game, right? It gives you a higher chance of a hit on a bunt once per game. So I'm going with Trusting Fellow. It just seems to pop up more. Level 12. So our options here are Quick Wrap Up, which increases the stats of a closing pitcher if he takes the mound before the 9th by 3. Or Solution Instinct, which increases the chances of getting an extra base hit with batters number 3, 4, and 5 if you're at a tie or losing after the 6th inning. So your closing pitcher, and I believe that this is for the player in your closing pitcher slot, not for a random pitcher that you haven't set up designated as a CP. There are RPs versus CPs in the game. This is for the player in your closing pitcher position. If he takes the mound before the 9th inning, all of the stats go up +3. The game will never put him in the game before the 9th inning. So that's only for manual play. It doesn't make any sense. I guess it's a way to get +3 free stats if you manual play a bunch and, you use your closer as your setup man and your setup man as your closer. But in quick play aspects of the game, which means ranked in most of club, this doesn't ever come up, right? Versus Solution Instinct, which increases the chances of getting an extra base hit, which is what we want in this game, with batters number 3, 4, and 5 if you're at a tie or losing after the 6th inning. So yeah, this just increases your chance of, getting back in the game if you're tied or losing. So seems so much better. Solution Instinct seems so much better than Quick Wrap Up. Mentor level 13. We have a couple options for this. The first one is Nerve Relief, which decreases the chances of allowing an extra base hit on the next at-bat if the pitcher allows walks. So if your pitcher walks somebody, then the next guy comes up the bat. This prevents him from, giving up an extra base hit, which isn't bad, right? It's a good way to keep your walks under control. Or back-to-back, which increases the chance of getting a home run on the next at-bat if you get a home run during the previous at-bat. Back-to-back is by far the better option here. You want to hit home runs in this game. Back-to-back just increases the chances of you hitting a home run, which is kind of huge for any skill or any mentor level. So it's not just getting an extra base hit. It's getting a home run. So you go with back-to-back here. You won't regret it. I'm not saying it's going to pop up. You're going to always hit back-to-back home runs. But even getting that small chance a couple times a ranked cycle may help put you in a position where you either come back from behind or you get to a place where you hit 2 home runs back-to-back and your starting pitcher can hold a 2-run lead. So really good. Level 13. Go with back-to-back. So now on to level 14. You have 2 options here. The first one is Full Power Pitch, which increases the location and velocity of the starting pitcher during the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd innings, while Control Tempo increase the location and velocity of the pitcher during the 4th, 5th, and 6th inning. So I went with Full Power Pitch. I figure my starting pitcher will be starting every game in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. So I'll always get that +1 to Lokenvel for at least 3 innings. While there may be a random situation where they just get blown up by a higher overall team and are no longer pitching in the 5th and 6th, so you don't get that +1 for all 3 innings. So I'd rather have the +1 for more innings rather than potentially missing it out on it in the 4th, 5th, and 6th inning, or maybe just the 5th and 6th inning, or maybe just the 6th inning. There is logic for going control tempo, though. I wouldn't blame you if you decided to pick this one instead. The reason you'd go for control tempo is as your pitcher gets later in games, his stamina is decreasing. He's getting less location. So maybe getting this extra +1 to location and velocity would help him not give up hits and stay in the game a little bit longer by getting this late boost. So I wouldn't blame you for going control tempo if that sounds more your speed. Full power pitch just makes more sense to me. Next up, level 15. You have two options now. One is Win Now, which gives +1 to players on your team lineup that don't match your team. So I'm a St. Louis deck. This would give +1 to all players that were not a St. Louis deck. If they're Cubs or Yankees or Brewers or Reds or Dodgers, they would all get a +1 in my lineup. So your other option is One Team, which gives all stats +1 to players in your lineup that match my team. So any Cardinal in my lineup gets a +1. Level 15 is awesome. It just makes your team deck better if you pick One Team. I would pretty much tell you to go with One Team. If you aren't building a team deck, I'm not going to tell you how to play the game. More power to you if you just want to have a team of superstars, in which case consider going with Win Now. But if you really want to compete against the big dogs, then you're going to have a team set deck. This is going to make your team just way stronger. So, I would definitely say that unless you're one of those people who wants to have like an all-prime deck or a deck that's not a single team deck, then I would go with One Team. And if you're not one of those teams, or if you're one of those teams that doesn't want to do a team deck, again, I'm not going to stop you. Team decks are just so good in this game. So I would encourage you to go that direction if you really want to compete. Level 16, we get to fastball training. It makes it difficult for a batter to catch timing against fastballs or aim fastball, which makes it easy to catch the timing to hit against fastballs. So, like I said, I'm a big fan of pitching in this game. If you have a starting pitcher who just can go 9 innings and you have a single batter who can hit a single home run, you might be able to pull out wins against much better teams than you. Versus if your pitching's weak, those better teams may be able to, you may get a hit or two against them, but their batters will just tee up off your pitcher, right? So starting pitchers are super important in this game. So I just decided to make mine better with giving it fastball training. If you're a big fan of your batters, maybe your batters need a little bit more help, then you can go for aim fastball. Level 17, it's more of the same story. Breaking ball training makes it difficult for a batter to catch the timing to hit against breaking balls versus aim breaking ball, which makes it easy to catch the timing to hit against a pitcher's breaking ball. More of the same thing here. I want my pitchers to be better, so breaking ball training. If you want your hitters to be better, you can go with aim breaking ball. Level 18. So your first option here is pitcher skill insight for a silver skill, or you can go with batter skill insight for a silver skill. The only real option here is to go with pitcher skill insight. You can't really go batter. None of the batter silver skills are good enough to justify taking that slot in this mentor level. If you were to go batter, maybe you could nerf heavy hitter or training junkie or full swing hitter, but those aren't good enough. Those don't actually make the players fit into a certain role. So with pitcher, I nerf winning streak because a lot of people's closers or maybe their setup men, have winning streak. And so if I can decrease the level of that skill by 3, it gives me a much better chance of coming from behind to win against their closer, or coming from behind to win against their setup man. So I pick winning streak here. Another option is you can nerf pitching machine, which is, I wish I could explain to you why. Pitching machine is a really good silver skill. I have no idea. The game works in mysterious ways, but pitching machine is definitely an option you could go for, or the setup man, which increases all the stats of a pitcher for 1 inning. Again, if some people will keep it on their setup men, and so that just gives you a chance to come from behind, win. Nobody intentionally aims to get heavy hitter or training junkie or full swing hitter on their batters, so it's not worth nerfing with batter skill insight. But winning streak or setup man or pitching machine, that could be a little bit stronger for you. So that's a good option for level 18. Moving on up to level 19, you have 2 options here. It's the same as level 18 except for gold skills. You either do pitcher skill insight or batter skill insight for a gold level. You have 2 options here. Okay, there are only 2 skills worth nerfing right now at and nerfing is what we call for decreasing the grade of that skill. There are only 2 skills worth nerfing right now. The first one is a pitcher skill, the last boss. The second one is a batter skill, charisma. I would say that if you're higher overall and you're into decks that are 110 plus overall, you should only be nerfing charisma. If you're lower than that, if you are facing a lot of pitchers with last boss, you can justify it, but eventually you're going to have to switch over to nerfing charisma. All of the games where you nerf last boss, it means that they may have a lineup full of charisma to damage your pitcher and get a lot of hits off of you, and you might get a lot of hits off of them as well. So then you have like a 9-7 kind of, crazy high scoring game. But batter skill, insight, you can nerf charisma down. It makes your pitcher better. It keeps the game more controlled on your end. And if they go and nerf boss and, your pitcher has last boss and you're nerfing charisma, then you're kind of in the same situation, right? I would nerf charisma. It's what everybody at higher levels is doing. Again, if you're lower overall and you have some pitchers that can fit the mold for nerfing last boss, go ahead and go for it. It does work, especially at the point where people don't have 2 strong skills or 3 strong skills on their starting pitcher. Sometimes at lower overall, they'll just be running something like the last boss, in which case it can be very useful to nerf that. But eventually, everybody should be moving toward charisma. Then finally, level 20. If you're a free-to-play player, you don't have to complete this level, although I guess they did just recently give out Team Select 6 to everyone. It's either franchise pitcher or franchise batter. Franchise pitcher gives all stats +1 when the signature pitcher's team registered on the lineup matches my team. So if I have a sig pitcher and so if I have a sig pitcher and he's a Cardinal and my team's a Cardinal, he'll get +1, right? Same with batter. If I have a batter who's a Cardinal signature and my team's a Cardinal deck, he'll get +1. It's really a matter of preference here. See how many sigs you have per, pitcher or batter. Go with the one you have more of or the one you want to be better. Like I've said all video, you want I want my pitchers to be better, so I went with franchise pitcher, which helps my pitchers out. But maybe you envy your team as a huge offensive powerhouse, in which case franchise batter, I wouldn't blame you for going. Or maybe you have more batter sigs and only one starting pitcher sig. So that will do it for this video. That's what I did for Mentor. Again, if you need an example spreadsheet to keep track of what cards you pull and what Mentor slot they're meant for, make sure you go to the link below and you have access to that spreadsheet to use as a template. If you have any issues with it, let me know in the comments and I'll try to fix them for you. And yeah, if you have any questions about the mentor system, be sure to let me know. If this guide helped you out, leave me a like, leave me a comment, subscribe. That helps me out. But don't feel obligated. I just appreciate the views. Tell me how you like this video, and if you have any questions, leave them below. I'll try to get back to you. I will try to talk to you guys next week, but with Thanksgiving happening, there are no guarantees. So, thank you guys very much. It's Feinstein out.